All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Nurburgring Nordschleife. I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13, as we are about to get underway for Stint 6 out of 12 here around the Green Hell. The top two starters are going to be the same. It will still be fun games and maybe racing, but both of those drivers fell well down the order in the prior stint. We also are apparently short a driver. We seem to have lost somebody somewhere. I think one of our Toyota Supra entrants have backed out, sadly enough. Am I seeing? No, it is not a Supra we have lost. No, it is a Supra we've... No, 17? Yeah, we've lost a car in the top category. So it looks like we are just down to 10 cars in the GT category and 7 cars in the road car category now. So the Prod team with X Minutes continues to lead by a significant margin over the OTR Anonyms L&P Supra. And then you have CBL Finu, who is currently third. But in the top category, it is BMW's first and second. But after their dreadful run in Stint 5, it's the same drivers trying to go again. It'll be interesting to see if they're able to turn their fortunes around as we prepare to get underway here for Stint 6. Hopefully without needing a bunch of restarts. Come on, load us onto the track game. Let's do this. Stint 5, if you ended up missing it, Stint 5 is one of the most chaotic TORA stints I have ever covered. Many different leaders, so many changes in the top 6 positions. Those positions were changing literally up until the last few seconds. I will see the field run down through turns 1 and 2 here before we will shift the view to where we are just following. Bottom category is showing quite a bit of tenacity. We're not really seeing a lot of drivers backing out in the lower category. Excuse me. As we are underway here, it will be Fun Games, Navy Racing, and Storm 1919 taking the green flag once again at Nurburgring Nordschleife. Immediately, Navy is struggling just to keep up with Fun Games, a repeat of what we saw earlier. The big thing for Fun Games, though, is that he is not going to be dealing with many of the same drivers that was in Stint 5. The only other drivers, other than maybe Racing, who also ran the prior stint, is Racing Bacon, who was way off pace, and then also ZR Berserk. Everyone else is somebody different, so maybe Fun Games will have a little bit better time dealing with drivers that may not be quite as up to snuff in racing here. Already, here comes Storm 1919 around the outside in that HYR entry. That is the HYR entry that won the prior stint. Maybe is not trying to let it go by easy, but it's too late. Storm 1919 has already cleared Maybe Racing. Now Maybe gets the power down. He's going to pull up alongside the Dodge Viper. He'll have the inside as they come up to the chicane. There is a dead heat between the two, but the Viper will be able to brake a little later. No, he chooses to brake earlier. Maybe goes deep, slides off, and loses the position. And leaves himself open immediately to attack from ZR Berserk. And Berserk going around the outside. Can he make it stick around the outside? He does! Berserk already up into the third spot. And now Maybe under threat from HYR Spirit. Boy, you thought Stint 5 went bad for Maybe at the start. It's going so much worse for him here this time. As they fire it off downhill once more. Bit of a slide by Spirit there as he runs behind Maybe. More momentum than there's room for him to put it. Already Maybe has fallen out of the top 3. And now the field is on the run down to Floodplatz, the big problem corner. 2 of the stints we have covered thus far has had to go to restarts due to big accidents in these corners. Can everyone keep it on track this time through Floodplatz as they clear the hill? Looks like our lead few drivers will be able to clear it without too much issue. Looks like everyone's going to get through without too much issue. At least in the top category. Now, real quickly, we look at the bottom category. Can they clear floodplains without issue? There is one car that's off. Who is that? That is Anonyms by the looks of it. The LMP entry went wide. Is there any damage? No damage, but he has gone wide and lost significant chunk of time in the process. But meanwhile, we turn our focus back to the GT category as Maybe Racing tries to keep HYR Spirit behind. Storm 1919 in the Dodge Viper already has his sights set on Fun Games, and ZR Berserk runs behind him as well. Maybe gets shoved off the racing line by HYR Spirit. Now Spirit's going to try and go the long way around the outside here, but gets shoved into the dirt. I mean, you shove Maybe off, Maybe shoves you off. I guess that's fair play. But it's letting the top three scoot away just a little bit. And here comes Racing Bacon in that KTM. Through the funnel section now. They fire it downhill. Big twitch by Maybe, and Maybe's into the wall. Maybe loses the position after going into the wall. Spirit holds station, and something's happened to Berserk. Berserk has fallen back, and now Maybe is side by side with Spirit again. There's too many cars, not enough room. Someone's gonna get shifted here. No, everyone is still going, but Maybe does lose another position. Now to Racing Bacon, so Maybe started second, or he's already out of the top 5 before we're even halfway through the lap. And now Maybe is under pressure from Les Wick, and behind him will be Peach 44 and VER Razor. As Maybe continues to hemorrhage and bleed out positions here, it will be Les Wick's turn and Peach's turn to try to make something happen. This is on board with Razor, who is 9th right now, well ahead of Banzan, who seems to have lost touch with the lead group here early on. A little bit of dirt kicking up, but it looks like they're going to be able to keep it clean through here this time for now. Big twitching slide there by Peach. But meanwhile, at the head of the field, Storm 1919 has already caught Fun Games. They are nose to tail for the lead now. And then you have this gaggle of cars. Oh, and Berserk slides off the carousel again. That's going to bring Spirit back up to him. And it looks like Les Wick slid off just a bit there as well. That'll preserve Maybe's position in 6 for a bit longer. Real quickly, we look now at the bottom category. To the surprise of absolutely no one, the Hyundai Elantra entry by the Prod team continues to dominate. EMC Corvette runs 2nd. 3rd place is CBL Finu. 4th is OTR Anonyms. 5th is Onzio. 6th is Zephyr. And 7th is Fast Food 21. Fight for 3rd is on, and so is the fight for the lead. BMW on Dodge, or Dodge on BMW, and Dodge on Mercedes. Those are the 2 fights we're looking at right now. Just about nose to tail between these 2. I think Storm's going to have a big advantage as long as nothing crazy happens here. I think Storm's going to get a fantastic draft off of Fun Games and might be able to steal the lead in the first lap off the back of the draft here. Oh, Fun Games into the dirt, sliding all over the place. Storm has to back out to not run over that BMW. This is farther back in 3rd. Berserk trying to keep Spirit behind as they go through the mini carousel. Barely, they both keep the cars on track. Then you have this 4-car train going on. Oh, is that Razor? Yes, Razor's gone off. Razor couldn't keep the car on track, and he'll lose touch with the 3 cars ahead now. But now we look at the leaders. Fun Games leads. Storm runs in his draft. Then you have Berserk and Spirit. Immediately, Spirit's going on the offense, trying to wrap around the outside. He's on the right side of Berserk. It is a dead heat at the moment between the Dodge and the Mercedes. Who's going to break later? Storm is closing down on Fun Games as he tries to make a move here. No move there, but they're still side by side. Who's going to break early through here? They make contact, door-to-door contact, and Spirit backs out. Spirit's not willing to play that kind of a risky game. Big twitch by Berserk under braking there. Spirit slides the rear of his Dodge Viper out. And now they fire onto the start-finish straight. Our leaders are now side by side. Storm 1919 going to try and go the long way around as they fire down to turns 1 and 2. He breaks a little early. He's going to try and pinch the BMW. No, he's not. Can he get a good exit? I do not think so. I think he had to hold off a bit so he didn't run into the BMW. But he's side by side again. BMW versus Dodge as they come out of turn 2. But the Dodge does not have the straight line necessary. So for the moment, Fun Games maintains his lead over Storm. And it is Berserk versus Spirit for 3rd and 4th right now. Maybe Racing has gotten back by Racing Bacon thanks to the draft. So maybe has somewhat recovered to 5th position now. And in the bomb category, Prod Menace is absolutely gone from the rest of the field. But Corvette is running in 2nd, Finu is 3rd, Anonyms is 4th. So there's still a decent amount of game to be played for the remaining podium positions, but it seems like that Hyundai Elantra, the Prod team has it figured out in a way that no one else seems to be able to respond to. Top 2 in our top category continue to run nose to tail. Storm, I think, is a little bit faster, but the thing with the Dodge is that with the aid of the draft, you can be very good at maintaining pace, but it makes it very hard to actually make an overtake happen. Now they enter into the Nordschleife. That BMW is just a little bit wide there, but there's not enough room to go side by side through this section of the circuit. Not unless the car ahead goes deep into the dirt. But man, you can see Fun Games is just sliding all over the circuit. Just struggling so much to keep it on the ideal racing line here. Looks like Berserk has opened the gap on Spirit just a little bit now. And here comes the run up to Floodplatz again. The big problem corner. Up over the jump. No issue for our leaders that time. And Storm continues to run in Fun Games' draft for the moment. Berserk runs 3rd. Spirit runs in 4th position. 5th is Maybe Racing, trying to keep Bacon and Leswick behind. Vance has moved up to 9th. Has something happened to 10th place Peach here? Did Peach have an accident in Floodplatz? Yeah, it looks like Peach probably had an accident in Floodplatz. There's no engine damage, but the steering is destroyed, the driveline is destroyed, and the aerodynamics are very badly compromised. There's also damage to the brakes and springs as well, as he goes off and slams into the outside wall. So yeah, for Peach, unless other drivers start having accidents, that's probably his run in Stint 6 derailed. But once more, we watch the stalking battle for the lead here. BMW versus Dodge. The thing with Fun Games is that he typically has been getting slower and slower. Because again, he ran Stint 5. He gets slower and slower as the tires burn off. So right now, he's about moderate in his pace. Next lap, he'll be even slower. So Storm's only going to get larger and more menacing in his rear view mirror. And the crazier thing is that ZR Berserk, now that he's cleared HYR Spirit, is focusing forward. Berserk was in position to walk off with the win in the prior stint before a self-inflicted spin, late shunting him all the way down to 6th. He was able to recover to 5th in the end. No, tell you don't want to get side by side through here. There's not really enough room. But now in this little mini straight section, you could go side by side, but the Dodge does not have the top end to pull up alongside very easily. He's got fantastic lap time, but not great top end. He also has fantastic acceleration, uses that to pull alongside the BMW briefly on corner exit. Definitely keeping the pressure up high on Fun Games, and ZR Berserk is running this duo down with speed. Storm might want to consider putting the bumper to Fun Games to try and force his way through quickly before Berserk catches them, and he runs the risk of falling down to third. Oh, and that's Fun Games into the dirt. Big slide into the dirt, and now Storm inherits the lead with a significant advantage, and here comes Berserk on Fun Games. Just about nose to tail for second now, as Storm 1919 has now taken over the lead of the event. Top four all basically share the carousel at the same time right now, but our focus is on second place. So what does Berserk do? Berserk has been a little bit, well, just the ZR entry in general has been a little bit mistake prone. They've been very fast, but mistakes have derailed what could have been a Stint win and what should have been lots of easy top 3 results thus far. But it's not like Fun Games has been having a perfectly fine job of this either. He has also had a significant number of mistakes as well. Big slide out of the rear by Berserk. And Fun Games might be closing down on Storm just a little bit here. Storm might not be as fast as we were thinking. Still, I think he's just far enough ahead of Fun Games that if they came onto the straight, I don't think Fun Games would be able to get the draft and fight back for this lead here. Heavy braking zone. Now they go through one of the more high-speed technical sections. You don't want to go side-by-side here. It's barely wide enough to go single file through this section. You'll bounce the car off of the curbs on both the right and the left of the car. It can really unsettle the machine very quickly. And there goes Berserk, way unsettled. You saw him get way off circuit there. He's still trying to get the car back under control. Can he keep it on track? He will keep it on track, but he loses a significant amount of time to Fun Games in the process. Now they fire it off into the mini carousel. After that, there's just one more big sweeping corner before they get onto the back straightaway. Will anyone in the top 3 be in a position to take advantage of the draft on each other? As they come to the end of lap 2 here. Firing off down the straight. I don't think Berserk is going to be able to catch Fun Games. But Fun Games might be able to catch Storm's draft. Maybe not enough to get alongside the Dodge, but it might be enough to pull him away from ZR Berserk just a little bit here and try to salvage his run to top 3. Farther back, Leswick and Maybe Racing having a little bit of a fight there. Maybe is going to maintain 6th, but he has fallen behind that pink Mercedes, and now it is VER Razor tucked up behind. I honestly thought that Razor would have been flying up through the field a little bit faster than this, but no, it seems like he has just not been making great forward progress here. Didn't start very high up. He's just not moving up with a lot of speed, but now he puts the pressure on Maybe Racing. Maybe in this event does not seem to be a very top-level driver. He seems to be about an 8th or 9th place driver in this event. Although I will give Maybe complete thumbs up on being able to hold on to a higher position as long as he did this stint compared to his last one where he went off about halfway through the lap and plummeted to 9th. This time Maybe's actually put up a fight for a little bit longer. As VER Razor and the Dodge Viper is now moved up to 6, he'll set his sights on Leswick. Your leader is Storm 1919, but the fight for second is on. It is nose to tail BMW versus Mercedes. just about to clear the GP section this time by. Oh, quickly, did anyone pit that time? It looks like Pete pit because he had to repair damage. And it looks like Fast Food's already been involved in an accident on lap 1, so he had to repair that damage also. But it looks like everyone else is going to be staying out this time by. So I'm just going to hide the pits ticker right now just so we can see more of the actual events on track visibly. Although it does look like CBL Finu went ahead and jumped into the pits as well to try and get off sequence. This has been where the real money has been. Second place, Fun Games leads over ZR Berserk. It's a little bit farther back is HYR Spirit. Again, if these two stood a lot of time side by side, Spirit will be right there as it is. It looks like Spirit is slowly closing on this duo. Berserk drops the tire into the dirt, coming out of Floodclass, going to lose a bit of time. Now he will have the draft off of the BMW and can use that to close the gap back down a bit. High-speed left-hander. And both of them came very close to going off circuit. And boy, late under braking, and Berserk closes right back up behind Fun Games by going really deep and late under braking. I'm honestly impressed that he had the control of the car to make that stick. That was fantastic to see. Now to the bottom of the valley, and they rush uphill. One of the more technical braking zones. You're not on the brakes constantly. You're on and off the brakes, trying to shift the momentum of the car from corner to corner. Both of them put their left side tires on that outside curb there, just trying to extend a little bit to find a little bit of grip on the track. Les Wick jumped back ahead of VER Razor as there is a separate fight going on for 5th and 6th. But this is the one that I'm really interested in, this prolonged stalking battle for 2nd and 3rd, with Storm 1919 trying to vanish into the distance. But if Berserk is way faster and he gets a chance to clear that 69, Storm could be in trouble. The thing is that that Fun Games is really holding up Berserk. Every time Berserk tries to get alongside, Fun Games is just able to force Berserk on the least ideal lane possible. And it is bringing Spirit up into this fight. Mind you, this is the 3rd lap. This is normally the point where the tires are at their worst for this BMW. And now here comes the Merc to the inside, goes deep under braking, clears him under braking. Fantastic move there. Now Fun Games will have the draft. He may have a shot to try and fight back through here. What? No damage, but Prodmus has fallen out of the lead. He's fallen behind Anonyms and Corvette. What's happened here to warrant this? So we've missed something, but for the first time, the Prod team seems to have had a massive stumble. They have fallen to 3rd. Now, granted, 1st and 2nd in their category is still right ahead of them, but now the heat is up for Prod X Menace X. OTR Anonyms as the LMP TORA Super entry that has been the closest to fighting the Prod entry right now. Granted, the gap is still absolutely massive in distance between the two of them, but that is the car they have to worry about the most right now. Off circuit just a bit, there is Corvette, your leader in this little fight. So a pair of Supras, followed by the Hyundai Elantra, which has been fighting very, very well today. And them still tucked up behind EMC Corvette right now as they fire through down through the funnel. Again, these cars have no downforce, and they are very heavily restricted on what you can tune suspension-wise. So driving these cars is a lot more driver skill-oriented than just off the back of what you can tune. That's not to say that tuning has no impact whatsoever, but the amount of impact tuning has in this bomb category is much, much less than normal. And I'm still running behind Corvette for the moment. Again, draft is very, very powerful in this bottom category. They're coming up onto one of the longer full-speed sections on the circuit here. Oh, Fun Games! Has had an incident completely backwards there. He's able to get it going, but he has fallen to fourth now. So this moves Berserk up to second, Spirit up to third, and Fun Games now under threat from being attacked by Wick and Razor. But again, just as I looked away, here's a fight. Super on super action. Anonyms, Corvette, neck and neck for a lead in the bomb category. Someone has to back out. It looks like it will be Corvette. So Anonyms goes to the top now. And all the while, Menace continues to just watch from behind, watching these two go at it, biding his time. There's been a bit of a chink in the armor, a bit of a bend, a bit of a weakness in the Hyundai Elantra, but it is still arguably the best car/team combination in this category. Oh, and Andims misses the corner! Andims completely misses the entry, going into the carousel! He falls from first to third through the carousel! So Menace now goes up to second. It only has to clear the Corvette driver now. The driver of Corvette. The EMC driver named Corvette. How did I butcher that so badly? To the top, the highest point here in Sector 3 around Nurburgring Nordschleife. The Supras are believed to have some of the better handling, but the strength of the Elantra is supposed to be in a straight line. The acceleration and top end. Maybe is staying out an extra lap again like usual, but everyone else is jumping into the pit lane as expected. And that Elantra ran a little bit wide there. It's going to let Anonyms get alongside it. Anonyms is going to clear the Elantra. And Corvette, EMC Corvette, is starting to open the gap just a little bit there. Still not done with this yet, because they're about to come onto the straightaway. Although I do think that EMC Corvette might be far enough ahead that as long as he doesn't make a mistake, I don't think he's going to be caught by Prod Menace this time. But again, Menace is going to have some fantastic straight line speed and a little bit of draft. He'll be able to take the fight right back to OTR Anonyms without issue, as long as he keeps that Elantra on track here. As our top three fire off through the carousel once more. Anonyms looks ahead to EMC Corvette, but it does not look like he is close enough to do anything to the leader, not this time. It's a nice solid run through there. Menace has absolutely cooked those front tires, that's for sure. But you look at the two ahead, nowhere near as bad tire wear for Anonyms, and for Corvette, who is leading, again, nowhere near as bad on the tire wear right now. And we'll see this group pitting momentarily here. And it does not seem like Prod Menace is closing on those top two at the rate that we thought. So with that in mind, we are going to go ahead and take a Twitch-mandated ad break. We'll be back momentarily here at Nurburgring Nordschleife as the field is knocking out their first round of pit stops here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Nurburgring Nordschleife. Your leader at the moment on an off strategy is maybe racing. But his tires are falling away as he's trying to maintain an advantage over this driver here. Storm 1919 right now. ZR Berserk has filtered up to 3rd place. 4th place right now is HYR Spirit, who is closing down on Berserk. 5th place is Fun Games 3434. This BMW entry lost a lot of ground in the prior stint, and they may be on track to lose even more ground this stint as well. 6th place right now is Leswick 9898. 7th is VER Razor. Farther back, way farther back, is Banzin XZ1. 9th is Racing Bacon 96. And then last place is Peach 44, who had an accident back on lap 2. I believe it was lap 2, if my memory holds up correctly. In the bottom category, your leader right now is CBL Finu, but he is leading because he is running on an alternate pit stop sequence. He pitted at the end of the 2nd lap, not at the end of the 3rd lap like most of the other drivers. EMC Corvette is your leader right now, followed by OTR Anonyms, and then Prod X Minus X. This Hyundai Elantra out of the podium position for the first time basically all day today. So a little bit of weakness finally showing in the Hyundai Elantra entry, but after having 5 fantastic stints in a row, are they really going to lose so much time in stint 6 here that really opens up the fight amongst this bottom category? I would like to see a closer fight, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Prod team has such an advantage, and the fact that the car that is closest to them is only 1 spot up the track, only about no more than like 120 feet ahead. I don't really think that the Prod team is at risk of losing their overall lead of everyone in the B class for the bottom category right now. Gap between 3rd and 4th is now opening up a bit. What I'm really interested in, though, is the gap between 1st and 2nd. Maybe Racing is running on some burnt-out tires, but Storm is not really barreling down on him with the speed I expected. I thought we had seen Storm already run down and overtake. Maybe that has not been the case. While the gap is most definitely closing, and they are starting to share straightaways with each other, there is a distinct possibility that maybe we'll still be lean before he pits, so maybe on this alternate strategy, he might finally be able to make it work, might finally be able to pull off a decent run. Granted, he needs to not have a mistake, not spin off or slide into the wall, which has been a problem in the prior stints. But if he can keep it together, a top 3 result may be in the cards for maybe. And while he didn't have a great run the prior stint, if he can pull off a good top 3 run now while Fun Games is way back in 5th, that IFEA/E-Racing United entry could still be in the running for the overall victory in the top class. At least of all the B lobby drivers. There is, with how chaotic it was in Stint 5, there is no way in hell that any driver in B lobby wins the event overall, just saying. There's no way on earth that happens. Boy, Fun Games has completely lost touch with that top 4. Razor has gotten by Leswick. Looks like Leswick may have had a bit of an accident there in the Merc. So he falls back to 7th. Razor moves up to 6th. Though he is still a long ways off from Fun Games right now. The bottom category is still Finu, followed by EMC Corvette. And then Prod Menace is now 3rd. So Anonyms has had some sort of incident and has plummeted back down the grid again. No damage to the car, but he must have gone off circuit somewhere. As maybe finally makes a stop here at the end of his 4th lap on an alternate strategy. Maybe Racing trying to make something happen. So now the question is, where is maybe going to be in relation to the other drivers around him on track? Oh, Razor's had an incident at the end of the lap. No damage. He'll be able to keep going, but it lets Leswick sneak back by him again. It looks like maybe he's still going to fall back to about the 7th spot. I don't think he'll fall to 8th. He'll definitely fall to 7th, though, but I think he'll have enough of an advantage over Banzin that he'll be in 8th now. So yeah, Banzin holds 8th, maybe only falls back to 7th, but still, on the alternate strategy, maybe definitely interesting. The one interesting thing, though, I will say is that because Storm never actually caught maybe on that run, that means that Storm hasn't really been held up by traffic whatsoever, so he is in completely nice and clean air right now. Berserk runs 2nd. 3rd place is HYR Spirit. 4th place is Fun Games now. And have we just had a disconnect? No, I think we're all still here. 5th place is Leswick. And VER Razor trying to close back in. He wants to crack back into the top 5 positions here. I keep looking back. I'm so shocked to see the prod entry not automatically dominating, or at least running top 2 by default in this bottom category. This is honestly the wildest thing. They did have a prolonged fight with the entry that OTR Anonyms is in back in Stint 2, but this has been the dominant car in the bottom category. To not see them rep at the front definitely catches me way off guard, to say the least. And there's a risk that Menace could get caught by Anzio here. Yeah, we could see Menace slip out of the top 3 just because of Anzio's pace. One issue does seem to be that the Elantra really does burn up its tires in 3 laps. It just absolutely cooks its rubber. Alright, VER Razor still trying to close in on Leswick for 5th spot right now. Bit of a bobble, bit of a slide. But yes, Leswick is still maintaining 5th spot. There's kind of a prolonged stalking battle right now. It doesn't seem like a lot of the drivers are really willing to go for any crazy moves. A lot of these people have been involved in incidents in prior stints, so I think everyone's just kind of cooked or more focused on just trying to go for lap times. And as I say that, Razor wanted to make it side by side in the funnel. I don't know why he was thinking that was gonna work. It's like every time I start to say something, a driver will do something or have something happen that will immediately prove me wrong. It's absolutely hilarious. I feel like Armchair Warlord. Not quite nose to tail between this duo. I think Razor is close enough to get the draft off of the Merc, so he won't lose too much ground on the Merc here through the straight. No move there. Actually, Razor backed out in the braking zone. He might have hit Wick in behind and unsettled his own car in the process. Yeah, that gap all says really opened up. No damage, but boy, Razor really backed out of it there. Because again, we look at the prod entry, still running third right now, but it is CBL Finu who is leading overall in the bottom category, followed by EMC Corvette and then Prod Menace. It's quite a ways back. Anzio was pulling up pretty close earlier, but now it seems to be over. Also, Fast Food is making his second stop of the day right now. HYR Spirit has been caught by ZR Berserk. So a fight for second is on. Well, actually, I should say Berserk has been caught and overtaken by Spirit. So Dodge his run, 1-2 again. Just a bit high center there on the curbs, but for the moment, no big change. The Merc will have a gigantic advantage in the draft potentially here, though, if he can just keep it on circuit. Going through the exit of the mini carousel, we've seen several different drivers slide off there, but both of them will keep it on. Oh, Berserk very nearly hits the grass just before the corner, right before the strip. But yeah, Berserk should be in a fantastic position to make this overtake without issue. Thing is that Spirit will likely be able to get the draft back relatively early down the straight. How long is Berserk going to wait to make this overtake? Because the sooner you make it, the higher the likelihood that Spirit could try and fight back. But you don't want to wait too long as a defense, because then you may not be able to complete the overtake before the braking zone. Here comes Berserk around the outside. Can he clear him before they get to the Bilstein Bridge? He does. He'll clear Spirit before they get to the Bilstein Bridge. As they fire it down front straightaway once again. Berserk leads. Spirit runs right behind him. Spirit is in a fantastic spot to try and lunge and break late to try and cut off and pinch off the Merc's advantage. Both of them get really sideways there. But no big change for the moment. So Berserk holds on to second for a little bit longer. Third place still is in HYR Spirit's position right now. Fun Games runs fourth all by himself, and you have to go way back to find the fight for fifth, sixth on back. Fifth place still Leswick, sixth place is still Razor, seventh is Maybe Racing, who is still on an alternate strategy, then eighth is Banzin, ninth is Racing Bacon, and 10th, way off the rest of the GT category, is Peach. So we're going to go ahead and knock out Twitch mandated ad break. We'll be back momentarily here at Nurburgring Nordschleife. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13, and we are back at Nurburgring Nordschleife. Prod Menace runs third in the bottom category, trying to keep Anzio behind him. Oh, and CBL Fido has just dropped out! Our leader in the bottom category has just dropped out! We'll try to reach out to Finu, see what happened, but dramatic turn of events here. We'll try to reach out to Finu and see if he has anything to say, but that upends everything. This now puts EMC Corvette into the lead. And not only does it put Corvette into the lead, now Prod Menace bumps up into second overall. So suddenly, Menace's not so great run suddenly gets a little bit better. Maybe Racing may have just had an instant. Maybe is incredibly slow here. The car is damaged. Maybe has had a gigantic accident. And he is crippled. And the car that was second overall coming into this stint is heavily damaged. It's destroyed. And he's only completed about a third of the lap. So for Maybe Racing, it's gone from bad to worse here. This might end up putting him behind Peach, depending on how quickly Peach can run up to him. This might put maybe 10th last of our runners in the top category here. Meanwhile, in the bottom category, you can see Menace trying to keep Anzio behind. Coming into the party right now is CBL Finu, and he lagged out immediately. Okay, well, if he wants to interview, he can jump in again. Yep, he jumped in again. Finu, can you hear me? All right, can you include your audio in the Xbox party? Frustrating. Who's driving the car in Stint 7? Alright, well, hopefully they'll have a little bit better luck. Frustrating to see that happen, mate. Nope. Ah, okay. Well, hopefully they'll have a little bit better luck, mate. It's a shame to have to talk to you so early in the event when you were leading and on track to maybe win here. Alright, thanks for jumping in and talking with us. Hopefully things go better for you and your team in the future. Alright, well, that is the word from the driver who had been leading the bottom category, Finu, but now is EMC Corvette who inherits the lead in the bottom category. But we have been having some interesting fights going on between Les Wick and VER Razor for 5th and 6th position. This fight keeps going back and forth. Fun Games is well up the road from them. Although with the way that Fun Games has been gradually bleeding off time, he might still be caught by one or both of these drivers by the end of it. The best thing for Fun Games is that the driver who is second maybe has had a gigantic accident, is going to lose a ridiculously obscene amount of time. But now I think Fun Games has to worry more about the the HYR dodges of Spirit and Storm going forward. HYR has really turned up the wick and gotten hot here as the days turned into night around the green hell. They have a slide off track by Wick there. Storm continues to lead with no issue whatsoever, but he'll likely be paying at the end of this lap. ZR Berserk runs in second position, just a little bit ahead of HYR Spirit. Spirit and Berserk have gone back and forth several times already. Again, we're anticipating that all three of these guys will be pitting at the end of this lap. Fun Games is kind of off by himself in 4th place, gradually bleeding time to everyone else around him. And then you have this duo of Leswick and Razor. Then you have Banzan, who is even farther back than Racing Bacon, Peach, who had a big accident earlier, and then Maybe Racing, who had an even bigger accident. I don't think we're going to see Maybe go a lap down or anything, but unless another driver has a big incident, I think Maybe is shunted to 10th in this running by default, and that will likely take the E-Racing United BMW out of contention for a top result in this category. Doesn't matter how good Score Buffalo is, he's not good enough that he's going to enable a salvage and at least half of a lap. This is not going to happen. Here we go, side by side. Merc on Dodge. Still neck and neck as they go down the hill. The Merc has the nose ahead. Who breaks early? It will be Razor. Razor is going to choose to err on the side of caution. So Wick continues to lead as they fire it down to the pit lane once more. Still, second and third are relatively close to each other. Corvette has actually pulled out a massive gap on this driver here, Prod Menace, and Anzio has gotten onto an alternate strategy, pitted, fell well down the order, but now OTR Anonyms is starting to close back in on Prod Menace once more. And we are anticipating that these drivers will also pit at the end of this lap. And again, this driver, Prod Menace, really seems to be burning up the front tires on that Hyundai Elantra. That seems to be one of the things that is leaving him really, really under threat as this is going on. The best thing that's helping him, though, is that EMC Corvette is so far off of the Prod team in overall distance, and then Anonyms was the driver who's actually closest, but Anonyms has just been very inconsistent. He's been struggling to keep the car on track. While he has shown moments of being faster than Menace, he keeps having mistakes and falls behind him, and it takes him so long to run the Elantra back down. Oh boy, maybe very nearly stopped. As he is still trying to limp this car around. He's out, he's pulled out. The damage was so bad, he could not finish the lap, it seemed. So we'll try to reach out to Maybe here. See if he has anything to say. Oh, my Forza has dropped audio. Yeah, it's only my Forza has dropped audio. That's interesting. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to try and troubleshoot this here. So I'm going to do a ad break, and during the ad break, I'm going to try and troubleshoot this and see if I can restart the audio. I don't have a lot of ideas on how to... Oh, and that's side-by-side between Anonyms and Menace. And Anonyms forces his way by Menace. They were side-by-side, door-to-door, both of them hanging the rears out in the car, but Anonyms has cleared Menace for the moment. Okay, I'm going to knock out an ad break, and I'm going to try and fix the audio, because I don't have working audio. And if I don't have working audio, I'm going to assume that you don't have working audio either. I apologize for that. We'll be back shortly, hopefully with things fixed. Knock out an ad break right now, and also when you left, it didn't crash me, but I've now lost all audio from the game.
Good old Forza. Sorry about that.
Well, I don't think it's your fault, but like not directly, obviously, but yeah. And I have no idea how I'm going to be able to bring audio back.
Yeah.
This will be
Understeer for
weird.
whatever reason was just a bastard. Couldn't get it around it.
All right. All right, I'll start the interview here in about a minute once this ad break ends.
Sounds good.
Oh, that was fast food who they're already putting down a lap. My goodness. That's not a good time for them. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we will welcome you back here at Nurburgring Nordschleife. Due to a technical issue, we have lost all audio from the game. I do apologize. I cannot figure out a way to restart that without completely losing something else just as valuable, which would be the ticker. So we're just going to have to run this remaining 45 minutes or so with no audio. I do apologize. As we see our leaders in the bottom category jump into the pits in our broadcast booth right now, we have Maybe Racing. Maybe go ahead, include your audio. Things actually looked like they were going well for you, and then all of a sudden you seem to have a tremendous accident. What happened?
Understeer. It's as simple as that. Just got a little bit of understeer, and that was the end of it.
Floodplats, or was it somewhere else?
It was the fast left right after it. I've had no understeer the whole time through there. Got a little bit of understeer. Clipped the curb slightly wrong. Sim twitched it right straight off right into the wall.
Absolutely frustrating because your team was still second in distance coming into this stint, and even though Fun Games was still ahead of you, it's not like he was massively opening the gap. So now I have to ask, who's going to be taking over the car in stint 7?
Track has 3 stints, and then I'm back in it for 10 and 11. And then Squirt will be bringing it to the end. I still have confidence in my team. I think we'll get a good finish out of this, just not the finish we were hoping for.
Yeah. Well, stint 10 and 11, we're definitely going to be able to see, on my end at least, because I'll be covering stint 10 and 11, so we'll be hoping to see a little bit of redemption for you there. It's a shame to see you knocked out like that, mate. It's frustrating because you were honestly had a decent strategy. Obviously, it wasn't a winning strategy, but you had a decent strategy, and you had enough pace that you were able to spit an entire extra lap in the lead by going a lap further. No one else had been able to do that. It's honestly a shame to see that happen.
Yeah, for sure. I was starting to catch up on the 2 in front of me, and I guess maybe I just started pushing too much, but I didn't feel like I was even pushing.
Yeah. All right, well, either way, thanks for jumping in and talking with us, and hopefully things are better when we see you in the car in the early rear crack of morning hours for Stint 10 and 11, mate. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us.
Thank you. See you next time.
Yep. All right, we turn our focus back onto the circuit here. Again, no audio. We do apologize for this tremendous glitch that has befallen us. ZR Berserk holds on to second. H2R Spirit is in third. This has been a battle that will go hot, then cold, then yes, then no, then in and out, then up and down. It's wrong, then it's right. It'll go black and white. They fight, then they break up. And then, they do a little bit of door-to-door kissing, and the gaps are all made up. But ZR Berserk continues to hold station over H2R Spirit for the moment. But Spirit has a tremendous draft and is using this to pull right up behind the Mercedes. Might not make a move at the end of the straight here, but is positioning himself very well to maybe make a dive going into turn number 1 this time. Through this final chicane section, the final corners, and no, Berserk put the power down, absolutely gapped Spirit on corner exits. No, I don't think we're going to see Spirit be able to make a big move in turns 1 and 2 here. But your leader by a pretty solid margin is still Storm 1919. Now, if Storm had an instant, obviously Berserk would immediately take the lead back over, but Storm took the lead at relatively early on in the event and has just been kind of smooth sailing, managing his gap and with fun games continuing to gradually bleed off time as the event continues to go on, there's just no signs that Storm is going to continue to be starting way down the grid. I think it's very likely we could see Storm and his team starting on pole position for maybe not Stint 7 because of how late and far behind we're running, but maybe in Stint 8 we could see Storm 19's entry starting on pole. The HYR team in general has been really coming on strong over the last 6 months or so across the majority of Forza racing. Excuse me. Prod Menace has fallen back to 4th position behind Onzio and Anonyms all over again. Again, we do not have audio, and we do apologize for that. And no, I'm not going to try and make race car noises with my mouth. That would be ridiculous and absurd. I don't mind having a little fun, but that goes from being fun and just being into generally insulting. So while these 3 drivers are fighting, EMC Corvette is leading now. It was looking like it would be CBL Finu who was going to clear off with this win. He had, on a slightly alternate strategy, he was opening up a big gap. Even when everyone was on the same pit stop, just only 1 stop or 2 stops in, he had been opening up a big gap, but the disconnect is taking him out, and now it is EMC Corvette who is poised to win the stint. OTR Anonyms is 2nd, Onzio 3rd, and Prod Menace is 4th. While the result is not looking good for Menace is on track to not lose too much distance and ground overall to that LMP Supra that is running in 2nd. So all is not lost for the Prod team in the Hyundai Elantra right now. Nope, even when I try using a different camera, there's still no audio. Well, it was worth the check at least. I thought maybe doing that would trick the game, but it did not. Peach is already making their 3rd stop with 37 minutes left in the event. For Peach, though, it's just been a struggle to keep the car on track and not damage it, so I would not be surprised if Peach ends up needing to make a 4th stop just due to damage. This fight for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in the bottom category is honestly very, very incredible right now. And Nim's trying to play defense against Onzio and Menace right now. As the trio fire it off through the carousel once more. Up they come, up these hills, and they'll come to the very top of the circuit by, well, at least in Sector 3, it's the very top of the circuit. Not quite nose to tail between the Supras. Riding out the back. Oh, I can't change the angle anymore either? Okay, well that's even worse, game. Come on. Wanted to have the rear view camera, but okay, I guess we can't always have nice things. Onzio continues to run in Anonym's tire tracks, and through these twisty sections, it seems to be where the Elantra is a little bit weaker. Again, we said before, this Elantra really burns up their tires much, much faster than the other cars on track, especially in the hands of Prod Menace here. So Onzio and Anonym's trying to open up as much of a gap as possible, trying to close back in. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Partially because it would just be insulting because I I am apparently somewhat tone deaf. I'm not like incredibly tone deaf, but I'm apparently somewhat tone deaf. So like most car engine noises don't really sound that different to me. Most car engine noises sound very similar, and everyone would be absolutely pissy if I'm making some sort of call in the if I'm making some sort of car noise that sounds like a V8 when we're in like a V10 or something like that. So I'm not going to put myself into that kind of fire. Looks like this trio has split up just a little bit here. Corvette's also lost just a little bit of time this lap as well. No damage by the looks of it, but he has lost a little bit of time to Anonym's behind. So first, second, third, fourth, all could still be up for grabs later on here. Menace in this Hyundai Elantra still has a ridiculous top speed advantage and is able to use that to close in significantly on Anzio, and he slams the wall, and he's around, he's sideways! He's able to fire back up and get going. There's no damage to the car. But that is the car that has been leading in the bomb category by a massive amount. And that sort of instant there is going to see his lead start to dribble away. Meanwhile, in the fight for second in the top category is Berserk versus Spirit. Still, these two have been going back and forth at for a while Storm 1919 has gradually vanished off into the distance. All three of these entries, Storm, Berserk, and Spirit, all could be in a good position when it comes to overall distance going forward. That was a little bit close for that 334 Mercedes. But for the moment, he's going to be able to hold station. I think Spirit will be just close enough to this Mercedes, though, to stay right under his rear wing and maybe try to close the gap down a bit. Slowly, Spirit using the draft to try and close the gap down. I don't think he's going to be close enough to make a big dive here at the end of this lap, but he might be close enough to try and do something going into turn one. Gap continues to visibly get closer and closer, just about nose to tail. Big lockup on the brakes. Both of them slide the rear of their cars out. And sure enough, that gap has most definitely closed down a bit. Though still, Spirit is not quite close enough to try and make a big dive on Berserk going into turns 1 and 2. About 32 minutes left in the event. So about 3 more full laps and about part of another lap afterwards. There is a possibility that we will see Storm catching the very back of the back marker category near the end of this lap. What's the gap looking like between Anzio and Anonyms? Well, there's Anonyms, and Anzio's just a little bit back. So yeah, our top 3, Corvette, Anonyms, and Anzio, all still relatively close together. Menace, after that bit of a wall hit and spin earlier, while there's no damage, he is now losing a lot more time. That team has built up a ridiculous advantage overall, but they are losing time now going forward. But right now, it is this fight here, this stalking battle for second place in the GT category. Berserk versus Spirit. This is where everything really comes together now. Comes together might not be the right term. Comes to life? I like the sound of that. Let's say it comes to life. So I feel like right now these positions are pretty stable. It basically has to come down to Berserk either slides off circuit or something else like that to change things. Yeah, that gap is starting to grow now between Berserk and Spirit, although Spirit has had the ability to close the gap down in the final third of the laps around here. Pretty much every other position seems to be pretty much decided right now, I feel, although there is a bit of a stalking battle for first, second, and third that's been going on in the bottom category. Anims can see Corvette. Actually, Anims is very slowly closing down on Corvette. I do have to wonder if part of the problem, you look at Corvette, he has so much fuel in the tank. I wonder if he's overfueled, and that might be slowing him down more than he realizes. You also have to wonder if these top three, are any of them going to go ahead and try to pit at the end of this lap, hope that they completely end up missing traffic altogether. Yeah, I live in an apartment all by myself. I do not have a lawn, let alone lawn care products, so I do not have the ability to get you the shop vac or leaf blower or something like that. I like that idea. That would be absolutely hilarious, but I don't have those tools at hand to begin with. Just about nose to tail, Corvette very nearly missed the entry there to the carousel. That gap is visibly closing down. I'll say it's about 3 seconds between this duo right now. So we are setting up for a potential fight for the lead here. Again, I really think the problem is that Corvette may have overfilled the car with fuel. Well, maybe not, because Anonym still has a lot of fuel in his car as well. Maybe these drivers are using the extra weight in the back of the car to try and artificially build in a little bit of stability in the back. Yeah, I'm starting to think that might be the case. These drivers may be running extra fuel in the car to try and give the rear of their machines a little bit more stability when they don't have the ability to tune and they don't have the ability to put downforce on. They can't really tune the suspension either. That might just be the best option that they can think of. But here comes OTR Anonyms. He's just about caught EMC Corvette now. And he's off into the dirt. A significant amount of time spent in the dirt. There still hasn't bled off too much time, though. But Anim's starting to drive very aggressively. Sliding off a little bit more than you ideally want to. Need to keep it on track. If you just stay close enough, you can let the draft try and pull you back ahead of him. Going down the long back straightaway there. Anim's has really come to life this lap. Ozio's doing a decent job also, but Anonyms has really come to life this lap and has really closed that gap down between himself and EMC Corvette right now. So this Supra entry is starting to actually turn things up a bit. Just about nose to tail as they fire it off down the long back straightaway. Anim should be close enough to get a draft off of Corvette ahead. He's not really closing at the rate I thought he would. Now it is. Now here it comes. Now he's closing it. Now the gap is winding down. But I don't think he's going to be able to get side by side going into under the Bilstein Bridge. Or will he? He's going to try and go around the outside. It's going to be a late move. Side by side. Super on super action. And around the outside at the last possible moment. OTR Anonyms to the top. And he slides off. And he hits the wall. And he's sideways. And here comes Corvette who gets back alongside. Door-to-door contact. And Adam says, I've had enough of that. I'm pitting now. Did he damage the car by any chance when he hit the wall? No, but he said, I've had enough of that. I'm pitting now. 24 minutes left. So Corvette will stay out now in cleaner air for a little bit longer. What about Menace? Does Menace stay out or does Menace pit? No, Menace is going to stay out as well. So now we get a little bit of last minute changing of the strategy in the bottom category. Storm 1919 has gone ahead and jumped into the pits as well. In fact, most of our drivers in the top category are pitting. Berserk went off there and brought Spirit right back up behind him all over again. And now they fired off down into the pit lane. Fun Games still runs fourth. He's actually opened the gap a little bit on VER Razor over the last few laps. Razor has finally disposed of Les Wick here. So it looks like 4th place, 5th place, and 6th place are all likely locked up. 7th and 8th seem to be locked up. I think 9th, obviously, Peach has no way of catching the drivers ahead. Excuse me. So Storm just cruising now. But he will have to start dealing with traffic momentarily here. Zephyr is only a little he's up the road right now. 23 minutes left in the event. So while we're in a little bit this kind of waiting period, let's go ahead and knock out a Twitch mandated ad break. And this should, if I'm looking at the distance, the times left correctly, this should be the last ad break of the run. When we come back, we will be here to the end of the stint. So don't go away. We'll be back momentarily here at Nurburgring Nordschleife. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Nurburgring Nordschleife. I am your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13. And yes, that is our last ad break. We will be here on track to the very end of this stint. We will not step away again. Your leader in the top category is Storm 1919. Took the lead after about 3 laps, was very relaxed and has been very fortunate when it comes to the navigation of traffic. Granted, they're only just now about to catch the bottom category traffic. But Storm's been doing a good job. Second place is ZR Berserk right now, who has started to pull away from HYR Spirit a bit. But this gap has opened up and closed back. This fight gets hot and then cold. And I'm not going to sing Katy Perry again. 4th place is Fun Games. And ranked 4th right now is honestly not too bad. While he is going to lose a significant amount of time to the top 3, this car is still overall in a decent position. of everyone in this lobby. VER Razor runs in 5th. Honestly, I was expecting more from him, but for whatever reason, this Dodge Viper of his does not seem to have the performance in the night that it did in the earlier stints in daytime. Leswick runs in 6th position, had been higher up flying with Razor, but has lost Razor over the last 15 minutes. It seems to be stabilized in 6th. 7th place goes to Racing Bacon in the lone KTM machine. 8th place is Banzan XE1, who has a gigantic drift there in that HYR Mustang. And then last in the top category right now of our running members that are top category is Peach44. Peach has just been having an absolutely nightmarish day, although nothing like what Maybe had, who had a catastrophic accident which damaged the engine so badly the car stalled out and would not move on the run up to the carousel. In 10th place in the race and first in the bottom category is EMC Corvette. He is on an alternate strategy. He was leading on merit before Hoof, but he is on an alternate strategy and hoping that staying out a lap now will work out for him in this clean air. 2nd place is Prod Miz, who had been 4th, but he also is hoping that running a lap in clean air will work out for him. OTR Anonyms is the driver who he is going to be fine with, and that is Storm 1919, who's just ahead of him. Already. There also have Anzio, who had been flying with Corvette and Anonyms. But again, Anonyms and Anzio have already made their 3rd stop. Corvette and Miss are waiting a little bit longer. Then you have Zephyr, who is 5th in category, way off the pace of everyone else right now. And then Fast Food, who is completely off in his own zone. He's just kind of completely lost the entire plot over the course of the event, as we are at 18 and a half minutes left here at Nurburgring Nordschleife. And again, I apologize for the lack of sound when Maybe Racing finally pulled out, when the car completely stalled out and refused to move anymore. For whatever reason, it killed the sound on my Forza as well. So that's an issue that I've never seen happen before. Oh, Berserk slides off in the carousel. And that's going to bring Spirit back up to him. All of a sudden, the fight for second comes to life all over again. We ride on board with HYR Spirit here as he stalks Berserk, and that is lap traffic ahead. Well, not lap traffic, it's traffic from another class of cars ahead that these guys will have to manage and deal with here. Gap's already starting to open back up again, though. Spirit damaged the engine somewhere. No damage. But now you can see Berserk caught up behind one of those Toyota Supras. He's got to try and go the long way around the outside. And he will make it work. Well, Spirit pulls up alongside and is able to clear him a lot easier. So Spirit, much better time navigating traffic that time. Close the gap back down a little bit. Coming up on more traffic here. Ooh, Berserk tried to go to the inside. That's Anonyms he's trying to get alongside here. Couldn't quite get it done that time. And now he's through. And Spirit follows without issue. So the gap now closes down. They are basically nose to tail now. For second, all over again. I don't think they're going to catch Corvette or Miss. I think that will be the last hints of traffic they're going to have to deal with here. Because Corvette and Miss are going to be pitting this time by. So they should not have to worry about traffic anymore. That may have been all that Spirit needed. Now he is back already in the... He's not even going to have to worry about the draft. He's going to try and just out-drag Berserk in a straight line on the outside. Can he complete the overtake? No, the Dodge does not have the top speed. He can't just blow by. Now the top speed of the Merc starts playing back in. And now Merc starts to close back in. Neck and neck. Now the Merc and Berserk gets... Ooh, the Merc and Berserk. I like the way that sounds. Berserk gets the car about 2/3 of the way ahead. And he will maintain his position. Spirit falls back in line behind the Mercedes at the end of the straight. Heavy under brakes now. Now Spirit might get another shot at this on the run down to turns 1 and 2. About 15 minutes left, so they're going to get another lap, and then about 3/4 of a lap after that. So this should be the last full lap here. Prod Menace has made his stop, and he has ended up back in the 4th position here. EMC Corvette is your leader. OTR Anonyms is 2nd, and Anzio still 3rd. And these two will not give it up. They're basically the game seems to think they're swapping positions every quarter. Big dive! Big slide by the Merc, and Berserk puts himself back in the 2nd spot. So what does Spirit do? How does Spirit try and fight back now? Not quite nose to tail there. They fire it off down the hill once again. And now they begin going uphill through here. Spirit can use the draft to keep the Mercedes from running off, but does not have the top speed to really pull up alongside him in most of these medium length straightaways. Ooh, Spirit missed the ideal line there, but is going to use that to actually have a faster exit a bit. Mistake, he may have parlayed a mistake into a small advantage. Again, right now, this is the most active battle on track. 10th, 11th, and 12th, and 13th all have some pretty significant gaps between them. So a bomb category seems to be resolved. In fact, every spot on track seems to be resolved. It's just this one that really is going to the end here. Big twitch there by Berserk. About 13 minutes left. And now they're coming up the floodplains, the big problem corner in the event, which has been the site of several massive incidents here in the B lobby. Guess about nose to tail through here now. Heavy under the brakes. The Spirit try closing under braking. No, he actually is very relaxed, but again, because the Dodge doesn't have nearly as have a top end, he can brake a lot later in the corners naturally, and he uses that to close back in on the Mercedes a little bit. Down to the bottom of the valley, and then they race back uphill. Very difficult section through here, but no big changes, not this time. Peach 44 making a 4th stop, we believe, for damage, which, sad to say, is not that much of a surprise. That car had some pace in the daytime, but in the night it just seems to constantly be involved in incidents and accidents. Bit wide there by Spirit as he tries to follow behind ZR Berserk. Seems like it's just turned back into a bit of a stalking battle right now. It's just going to come down to, does Berserk make any mistakes? And to be fair, this ZR entry has made quite a few mistakes over the prior stints, but same has applied to Spirit. I do feel that these two are relatively balanced, so you can combine car performance and what the drivers can do right now. Real quick, just to give you a idea, let's go ahead and use the point of interest camera and go ahead and time the gap between first place and second place. That is first place, your leader, Storm 1919. We're going to count down here. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010, 1011, 1012, 1013, 1014, 1015, 1016, 1017, 1018, 1019, 2020, 2021. So about 21 seconds between first and second place right now. Not quite an entire pit stop, but pretty darn close to it. So yeah, Storm 1919 has opened up a fantastic gap at this stage of the event. A little less than 10 minutes left now. This is Fun Games, who is trying to just bring this thing home, hoping that someone else who's a little bit more confident in the car can have a run here with it, a crack at it. But he has cleared most of the traffic. In fact, I think at this stage of the event, the traffic has been cleared by most, not all, but most of the bottom category. I think it's only Banzin who has to. Well, no, it might be Leswick actually. I think Leswick and Leswick, Bacon, and Banzin, I think, are the only drivers who still have to clear the rest of the traffic from the bottom category. But the gaps between them are so big that as long as they don't slide off circuit and bounce their car into a wall, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Yeah, this is Leswick now, your 6th place driver. Pulls up alongside. Obviously, Super doesn't want to be trapped on the outside there, but EMC Corvette has gradually opened up a very significant gap on OTR Anonyms. So you can afford to bleed a little bit of time to just, not get screwed over. Looks like Spirit's gotten back by Berserk here. So suddenly the momentum swings back in the HYR Dodge favor. Can Berserk get close enough in the straightaway to use the draft? Because again, this is the last time they have the draft. What can Berserk do? Is Berserk close enough to get the draft? I don't think so. That does not look like it's going to be close enough. I do not think that's close enough for the draft to kick in. And even if it does kick in, it's going to kick in so late in the straightaway, it's not really going to help him. Again, we do apologize for the technical issues that have deleted our sounds from the game. Berserk has closed down a little bit on Spirit. Now he should be within drafting range going down the start-finish straightaway. Again, they're not going to be able to complete the entire lap. They'll be able to complete a good chunk of this lap, but it will not be the entire lap. Ooh, Spirit was wide in 1. Berserk had a much, much better run through both 1 and 2. Spirit sliding those tires as he puts the power down. So it's back to being nose to tail between the duo. This fight just will not end. Oh! Contact, and he shunts that Dodge sideways there. Just about nose to tail still. Now they go downhill, and then the straightaway goes through a bit of a bend, and you start rushing uphill. Berserk seems to be a little bit more reserved right now, not really charging off crazy into the corner. He's like, well, I just hit the Dodge earlier. Let's not push the luck and wreck both of us. And now back into the Nordschleife they go for the final time in this stint. Oh, and Berserk into the dirt. Deep into the dirt. He's still in the dirt, still sliding. Now, those hits looked like they were relatively flush, so I don't think he will have taken any damage, but that will probably end the fight for second and third position. Unless Spirit has a completely big self-inflicted mistake or disconnect, I think that settles that fight in favor of Spirit. Now, it looks like we'll have our second straight stint where dodges go 1-2 at the end. So with that in mind, real quick, let's go ahead and look at the bottom category. Your leader is still EMC Corvette by solid, though slowly shrinking margin on OTR Anonyms. Reminder, Corvette and Anonyms are on alternate strategies. You look at EMC Corvette, he has got tires at 17%, 18% wear right now. You look at OTR Anonyms, he has got tires that are at 34% wear right now. So Anonyms, who had pitted earlier than Corvette, trying to close the gap back down, I'm not so sure that strat's going to work. Third place is Onzio. Right now, fourth place is Prod Menace, who is way off the top three at the moment. So basically, and then Zephyr is completely like a mile and a half behind them, and then Fast Food is about another half a lap back from that. So the bottom category is very much spread out. There is a possibility we see Anonyms catch Corvette, but with 3.5 minutes left, I think it really just would have to rely on Corvette completely boshing a corner or Anonyms really finding an extra gear here, and bouncing over the curbs like that and getting all sorts of twitchy sideways is not going to help them make that happen. Although one small advantage that Anonyms will have, well, no, never mind. He is not under-fueled. They both have still quite a bit of fuel in the tank. Corvette still leads. Anonym is within striking distance. If Corvette has a big off, has a big slide, Anonyms could still steal this. The big thing for Anonyms, though, is that he is going to close the gap down a little bit between himself and Prod Menace. The gap between himself and the Hyundai Elantra that the Prod team has been running is going to definitely shrink down a bit at the end of this, regardless if Anonyms wins this or not. Yes, Menace is pretty far from Onzio. Let me go ahead and put in perspective how far from Onzio Menace is. All right. I'm going to try and find a good marker. Try to find a good marker to calculate, to give you an idea how far this gap is. Here, I'll just zoom in on the map. That is how far he is. They're not even close to each other. They're nowhere close to each other on track. Menace is not like a close fourth. He is way off in fourth. He is nowhere close to the top three right now. Second and third have found each other all over again in the top category, but they only have about 60 seconds left. If Berserk wants to get by Spirit, he has to figure something out. But it would not be the first time we've seen last 20-second overtakes in the prior stint. Something could happen here. Berserk is all sorts of sideways there. Menace has just been generally off pace, but he did have an accident. No damage, but he did have a accident at the end of the straightaway. He hit the wall on the left side and got the car completely sideways and stopped and bled off like 10-15 seconds there. He had only been all day long, though. He's only really been like the third or fourth fastest driver most of the day. So it's not like he was a race-winning car and then it was taken from him in an accident. He was like a third or fourth place car, had a no damage accident, and that shunted him way, way behind the podium trio. as we are watching the time click down. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up. Over. Plow. And with that in mind, our winner here for the final stint is going to be Storm 1919. So another victory for the HYR entry. And then HYR also comes home second with HYR Spirit, followed by ZR Berserk. After that will be Fun Games, who comes home fourth, quite a ways off, but he has stemmed some of the bleeding this time. Fifth place, way off, is VER Razor. Again, I anticipated better, but it's just not worked out for this entry. Sixth place will be Les Wick in the pink Mercedes. Seventh will be Racing Bacon in the KTM. Eighth will be Banzin in the Mustang. And ninth will be Peach 44 here, way off pace. Last of the runners GT3s in this Mercedes. In the bottom class, it is EMC Corvette, who is going to win Stint 6 by a relatively small margin over OTR Anonyms, who almost got run into, apparently, by Anzio at the end there. So that's going to be interesting to see how they actually finished in recordings later. Fourth place will be Prod X Minutes X, who well off the top podium. That team's going to lose some of their lead, but they should still be an overall lead of all of the bottom class cars running in B lobby. Fifth place will go to Zephyr all the way back here. And then 15th will be Fast Food, who was completely off pace, about 2/3 of a lap down to his own category. And with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and knock out a... God, stop shaking the camera! We're going to go ahead and knock out a Twitch-mandated ad break. And when we come back, we'll try to get some interviews in with some of our top finishers in both categories here. We'll be back shortly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Nurburgring Nordschleife. Final distances are being collected right now. Movement going on here? Yeah, apparently OTR Anonyms has ended up going ghost mode for some reason, and now he is zooming in ghost mode. Don't know what's happened to cause this. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and send some invites out to some of our top finishers in both categories, see if any of them are willing or able to have a interview here.
Me?
Yes, I hear you. Are you able to include your audio in the Xbox party?
I just clicked it on.
All right, sweet. So coming to the party right now is EMC Corvette. Corvette, it was a fantastic drive out there. It looks like a relatively easy-ish win. What do you have to say about your run out there, mate?
It definitely wasn't easy. I definitely had some strategy involved. I saw uh, Onimus behind me, and he was catching me quick. He ended up passing me at one point, but pit one lap early. And I was hoping that the GT traffic would catch him because of that move, and it did. And so that is, I think, really all that kept him from catching me. He was closing in at the end there. It was a really good race, but I just made sure I didn't make any mistakes.
No mistakes definitely help. Will also definitely put you back in contention for overall win, at least amongst all the B lobby guys, considering that the prod team lost a significant amount of time in the stint. So now I have to ask, who's going to be taking over and driving the car in stint 7?
EMC Steve, he should be running right now if they've already started. And
yeah, they've probably started like an hour and 15 minutes ago.
I know that I heard they were about 20, 25 minutes behind, but they're running now. So yeah, he's taken over. This will be his first stint of the race, and then I think Rags has one more, and then Steve and Motoman will be finishing it out. I actually think Rags is running our last stint, but yeah, I definitely am happy with my last two stints. I crashed on lap 1 of the first stint and kind of hurt my pride a little bit, but I'm back in it, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes at the green hell, your fortunes can go from awful to good or from good to awful. We've seen that many times over. But thanks for jumping and talking with us, and great job on your stint victory, mate.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
All right. Gotta try and reach out to Storm 1919 as well if we can. I don't think anyone else is probably going to jump in with us. I imagine for a lot of these people, they're just going to be exhausted and trying to go to sleep. Oh, here we are. Gonna try and get ZR Berserk in here if we can. since I just got something from him just now. Although if he's already moved on to preparing for his next lobby, I wouldn't really blame him. And yeah, it looks like just about everyone else has already moved on. All right. So in that case, we'll go ahead and wrap up the broadcast here. I've been your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13. Oh, Storm says it's 4 a.m. Dude, if people are asleep. Real, I understand. You do not ever need to apologize for that. Real life always has priority. But with that in mind, I will go ahead and sign out for the moment. I am going to try and figure out if I want to catch a really quick nap before I cover my next stints later, or if I'm going to try and stay awake and then just be in zombie mode for the last 2 stints I cover. But until next time, I've been your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13. I want to say to everyone, thank you very much for joining us. Farewell, everyone, and goodbye. I would send you all to watching the Stint 7B lobby, but no one is streaming Stint 7B lobby last I checked, so you're just going to have to hope that you can find somebody. But until next time, farewell, everyone, and goodbye.